credits secret scene.
Oh, indeed. This is like Samuel L. Jackson going to recruit the Avengers after the first movie.
Yep. Oh, throwback.
Are we back
Also,
though?
spoilers again.
Indeed. This Sunday night. It's like Sunday night football, even though there's no football.
Eh.
Indeed. So like we just started farting around, talking and stuff. It was like, hey, there's other stuff we could talk about. So let's talk about other stuff. So this is the Sunday night
Bonus episode.
totally random. It started at 6:36. Like how that's a beautiful number, beautiful time. So 6:36, just straight chilling. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be amazing. And we're gonna talk about a strategy you might want to integrate into your hustle. We're also going to walk you through how to actually integrate it into Canvas as well. So we'll show you some processes, some things that stop you from making all 55 billion buttons. Like the buttons thing is like, it's dope that you're making buttons and you know where buttons come from and how to use Adobe Spark or whatever to make the buttons. But like,
there's an easier way.
There's a far easier way than making buttons. Embedding things is a lot easier than making buttons.
Hold on, I think the dog is trapped in a shirt. 1 second.
This is what happens when you have random episodes.
Okay, we're good. We're good. He's just rolling around on a towel. I thought I saw him with his paw caught in a shirt attached to his head.
He's just doing dog stuff.
We're good.
Anyway,
all kinds of exciting things happen at Webb's house. Randos in my backyard. The dog gets stuck in a shirt.
So, like, we're gonna talk stand-ups today, and why stand-ups could be a potential thing that you integrate into your classroom, just because they're pretty nifty, and we have a stand-up-ish type person here in more ways than one. That's going to kind of walk us through what stand-ups look like, how they get down, and all that wonderful stuff. So, again, we're the Intelligent Hoodlums. Can find us all over the internets. Wonderful, fine, dandy.
Second search result on Google.
Indeed. But shout out to Tragedy Gaddafi, the man with the plan. Shout out.
Will always be number one.
Webbs, introduce yourself very quickly so we get to the madness.
Let's see. I'm Webbs. I recently pickled my first jar of vegetables. I had a lovely conversation with the gentleman who brought my groceries out today. Also, I'm a software developer and a certified teacher, no longer practicing in the classroom, but I spent 10 years there doing a variety of things. I own several pairs of Converse.
Interesting. Did not know about that.
Yeah, I just got new tie-dyed ones. I made up. So my mom sent me some tie-dyed Converse, and in order for me to model them for her, I made a clips video backed by Bee Gees' "Staying Alive."
Interesting.
I spent 10 minutes on it so I could send it to my mom and be like, "Look, I got the shoes."
Wow. The interesting things we do to make our parents feel appreciated.
It's true. It's true.
I'm Mike Lang. I keep it real in the streets. That's what I do. Now, in terms of our topic for tonight, the concept of a stand-up. And Webbs, what exactly is the value of this concept? What does it mean? Explain it to the people.
So, in software development, and not just software development, but obviously that's where my background comes from, we have this idea of a stand-up, and it is we meet daily as a team, and we share what we did the day before, what we're going to work on today, and if we have any blockers. It's usually really quick.
What is blocker? What is a blocker? What does that mean?
Oh, what's a blocker? So, let's say I'm working on something, and whatever I'm working on depends on another team, or there's knowledge I don't have. So I might be working on a piece that relies on a special piece of technology or a language that I don't know. So I need to get help from someone else in order to complete that piece of work. The importance of a stand-up is communication. So and accountability. That's part of it as well. So it's letting you know, it lets your project manager and any other stakeholders who might be interested in the progress of your project, it lets them know what's happening on your team. It lets them know, hey, this is the piece of work that I'm working on. This is the progress that I've made on it. And if I need to communicate to my project manager, what things are in my way that are preventing me from completing this work, I can voice those concerns. Sometimes it's not the project manager who moves that blockage from the way. Sometimes it's another teammate who says, hey, I have a few minutes today. I can help you out with that because I'm really good at Java, or I'm really good at Python, or whatever. Or I know how to set up that pipeline, something like that. So they're a really important touchstone, like communication point. It also gives you insight into what is going on your team. So, and spreads knowledge. So I can talk, if I hear another teammate talking about the story that they're working on, then I have some idea of why. 1 second. You have something?
You gotta love reality TV. Indeed. So the reason why we're going to talk about the value of a stand-up is you essentially have a classroom that is now a team. And how do we ensure that that team is able to function honestly, can use the digital tools since they're not there natively with you, how they can use the digital tools that are available to us in order to create that community, create that transparency where students are able to be honest at the beginning of the day, understand what they're, you can set out for them, what we're going to be accomplishing today, etc. I can talk about the previous day. I can talk about the fact that, okay, Miss Jones, I've got to go watch my brother at noon. So I may not get all of the work done today. I'm going to go and do that at 6 o'clock this evening. And don't worry about it. I'm on it. We know what we need to do. I'm going to sit with my mom or whatever. It gives us like, it's an honest, transparent moment for your students and for you as well. So perhaps other things, you got kids running around your house because you're a parent as well. You know what, guys, we're going to have to move the 1 o'clock meeting back to 2 o'clock because I have to go and I need to help my own daughter with their homework or whatever that happens to be. So again, the value of the stand-up is this honest communication at the beginning of the day. Continue, Webbs.
Yeah, and I think too that it's a way of incorporating accountability without making it control and compliance driven. It seems like so much of what we're doing right now, I think because out of, concern, desperation, like panic, whatever, is control and compliance. Well, how do I know they're going to show up to class? Well, how am I going to do attendance? Instead of making genuine touch points for the purpose of communication. So this is an opportunity, like you said, to have that transparency of this is what I'm planning on doing today. And I think too, something I recognized when I was in the classroom is students, so much of their efficiency or so much of their planning is governed by other people, right? Their parents tell them where to go. Their parents tell them when dinner is or isn't or whatever. The teacher tells them what time lunch is. The adults in their life control everything so that they don't have an opportunity to try and figure out for themselves, like, hey, did I self-regulate into, or not self-regulate, but develop their own literacy of time and time management and figure out oh, hey, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't really get much done today because I was distracted by this thing or that thing. And recognizing when it's okay to not make a lot of progress, because we all have days where you just want to lay in bed and hide under the covers. And then on days when it's okay, I opted to play Xbox instead, so that was my trade-off. If I'm going to get this done, maybe I need to reallocate my time a little bit today. So it keeps them metacognating on their own processes too, right, without it being the teacher determining, well, you didn't show up for class today, or you didn't get this done, and you should have gotten that done. They have to feel for themselves what progress looks like and what progress feels like without having to go to an adult and say, did I do good?
Max. So Carebo just threw in the chat or the chat in Facebook. We can't make kids listen to Zoom. And the control and compliance deal is not gonna. This is a TV show now, Holmes. So if I don't like the TV show, I can change the channel, which is absolutely positively the hustle. So
indeed,
in terms of characteristics of a stand-up, what kind of things if I wanted to do this in my classroom, what kind of things would I have to kind of keep in mind?
I think stand-ups are supposed to be quick, so it shouldn't be I'm going to delve deep into why I got something done or not. If you want to mention hey, this is what I'm planning on working on today, but I won't get to it till later because I have, to go to work with my mom or something. If that's the information they're comfortable sharing, they could say something as generic as I have something I have to do today. I can't get to working on my stuff until later. But it's not like deep dive story time. It's not do the right thing at the right time. Exactly. Not sure. Ask first. Yeah. So it's just a quick check-in. That's all it really is. And you can always say, if either a student is delving deep into a story, you can say, you know what, we can talk about that one-on-one after. I'll send you a meeting link, or I'll send you a Google Meet link, or you can meet me in my conference hours, or however you have that set up. It is something that's one person at a time, and it may be a little bit choppy the first time you do it, especially depending on how big your class is. You may want to break it down into, stand up A, stand up B, stand up C, depending on how many students you have. Just for attention's sake, because I know I don't want to sit there and listen to 24 other updates. Like, my team is, I think, 8 people. So maybe keeping it around that size. I've been in clubs that are as big as 15 people, but even with adults, that just draws it out, because then people start asking questions. And if you're working on a group project, maybe you have one person in the group, give the update and then rotate around that group. But the important thing is it should be concise, and it's really just, what did you do yesterday? What are your plans for today? And are there any blockers? Those are the 3 questions that you're looking for. And it should be a pretty quick, concise answer.
Facts. So how does that translate to our current situation? So in terms of, again, the conciseness, a lot of that can be, if we think about it, synchronous or asynchronous, right? We have the ability to record things and have people respond to recordings. It doesn't have to be something that's live. It could be, I'm not going to wake up until 10. I go and listen to the stand-up stuff and I respond, hey, cool, I'm working on that team doing X, Y, Z. Go ahead, Webs.
I have been on teams where we do asynchronous stand-up every once in a while, where we do it in Slack. We just post, hey, here's what I did yesterday. Here's what I'm working on today. Here's any blockers. It is nice to touch base live as much as you can, to have that conversation. It goes a bit faster. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you're talking about, littles that don't type super well or don't have the ability to dictate, you could do like a Flipgrid type thing where you just record your stand-up update, and then it gives documentation too. A student can go back and say, oh yeah, what did I do yesterday? Or they could record it at the end of the day before they forget, and then go from there. So it's a nice temperature check, I suppose, for themselves, and a nice record for themselves of what did I say? Because if you start saying the same thing every day, like, oh well, I read chapter 4 of I don't know, Holes. Oh, I read chapter 4 of Holes. Okay, you've been reading chapter 4 of Holes for like a week and a half now, so I'm a little concerned.
Facts. So, like, in terms of translating that into your classroom, we're gonna get to Google Calendar eventually, but like, first tool comes off the top of your head. Yo, fam, just use Flipgrid, fam. Google Forms is something that pops off. Yep. So Caripo definitely with the Google Forms, but like, I really like video. I think most kids really like video, especially for our kinder. Like, we always forget our K1 friends, right? I can't type. I'm not literate. Our functionally illiterate people need to be included in these processes. As for me, again, I teach every kid K through 5 at my school. I teach 2 autism courses and 2 SLD courses. It makes it really, really, really attractive if I get to shoot a video every day, because that's something that every kid wants to deal with. And Flipgrid just makes that really, really easy. So if you're not playing around with Flipgrid in your classroom, that is definitely something to deal with. It can be integrated anywhere, right? Boom, 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 boom. And what Heidi just said is exactly where I was going through, right? Great.
Heidi said the teacher can share what they're working on as well. Yes, absolutely. It means that you are you're modeling for them. Hey, this is what it looks like. And you're being as accountable to them as you're expecting them to be to you. So it is an interactive thing. And John says, I agree, kids should not have to be able to type to access the class. That's a great point.
Because, again, we're all about, I don't care how many words you type per minute. I care less. I care about your ideas. I care about your ability to share those ideas and both those ideas to be valued. And again, I think the great if you're a teacher listening to this and you've never taught kindergarten, force yourself at least one time in your career to teach a whole year of kindergarten. It will make you see education in a totally different way when you have to be able to Einstein. And that, when I mean Einstein, Einstein has that famous quote, if you can't explain something to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. You will understand teaching if you have to teach kindergartners, because you'll start to see things holistically. You'll understand that 5-year-old kid pops in the back of your head before you do that lesson with those 6th graders, with those 5th graders, with those 4th graders. You're like, hey, how would you explain this to somebody who's functionally illiterate? If you can't do that, then you start to reevaluate how you do everything. And it's again, it was that SLD. I love that SLD class. I love my autism classes because they challenged me to look at things in different ways. So again, that video piece, you are a television star right now, teacher friend. If you're not someone who's ready for that prime time situation where something sexy has to happen in that classroom on a regular basis, in which you're like, oh my God, here's the Miami Vice moment. We got to have that car chase. How do we build that car chase, that car chase energy constantly in the classroom? And it doesn't have to just be from you. Use your students to build that same energy, and that's where that PBL, that challenge-based learning, that project-based learning and stuff comes into that classroom. But, again, Flipgrid, definitely something I would deal with. It's totally free. I hated that. Again, I paid $60 for this thing at one point, and now they've made it free, but I'm at that share button. And again, since we're talking Canvas, that embed code is the code that unlocks everything. It's the matrix. That is the deal. You can send it to Google Classroom. You can send it to Microsoft Teams. You can QR code it. You can send it to Remind. But the embed code is like the piece de resistance, as my French homies say. So I'm going to hit that copy button. Here's my workroom. Now, one of the things that our elementary friends are doing is building like buttons that go all over the place and do all kind of funky stuff. Like, I would definitely avoid the buttons in totality. Go ahead, Web.
I want to talk a little bit about why that might be, though. And I would love to hear from folks who are listening, tuning in, watching later, whatever. Because my thought was, we're trying to replicate what we are doing, what we would normally do in the classroom in a digital space. Yeah. And I think one of, at least from my experience of what I've heard for professional learning for teachers on this topic, is one of the gaps is, how is your classroom different? So we talk a lot about the things that are the same, which is great. You want to anchor that in what you already know. You already know how to compose a good lesson. However, I think that it's important to talk about the differences as well. And I think Mike will agree with me here, where if you try to take that day-to-day approach and plug it into, when I say day-to-day approach, I mean like doing your lessons one day at a time and not thinking about them like more in a more broad sense, you're gonna feel pain.
Facts.
Because I think, we've talked a lot about trying to keep them all on the same, keep your students all on the same page and not have to have them jump around a bunch, especially the littler kids. So I think my theory, at least, if anyone can confirm or deny, is that the frequent buttons, and like a lot of them seem to be the daily buttons, and I think it's a very accessible way of making your online space attractive. The unfortunate thing, like I said, is you're probably going to experience some pain from that when it comes to students actually using it. Because like Mike said, they'll probably get lost, and you'll probably be, if you're trying to do a button for every day or change where those buttons link to on each day of the week, you're going to burn out really quick. Web pages that do that generate those links automatically using code in the background and loops and whatever. But if you're manually going in and changing those links every single day, you're going to burn out fast. So I think one of the things we're going to talk about today is modules and how to take advantage of modules so that you don't burn out on the buttons thing. Yeah, that's my theory. I'd really like to hear from someone who can confirm, deny, contribute. Give me your thoughts on where your head's at. I'd be really curious to know.
Well, like I said, the buttons thing comes from, I'm going to concur with Webbs in terms of, this is familiar to me. But it also comes from the school of control, right? I'm going to control the pace that you're going to actually deal with this information. But we are now living in a place outside of time, right? we're outside of time. Like he can go as fast as the information that you put up there, or as slow as they would like, knowing where the goal is. So rather than having a situation where I'm going by day, which again in a physical sense, yeah, that makes sense because I'm sitting in front of you. I can only give you what is physically there. But in a virtual sense, I can go as fast as the information appears. So in theory, if I build the modules, what do I care if the kid gets all their week worth of work done in a night? If I'm ahead of the kid, and if can get all of this work done in a night, how valuable is that work? So if I'm not thinking about big problems, if I'm not creating things, if I'm not finding solutions to problems, what good is the work in the grand scheme of things? If it's just here's a bunch of PDFs and I got all the PDFs done, like what's the next thing? Because again, we go back to Schlecky's idea about engagement. You're just dealing with that second level engagement. I'm just getting this because I wanted the A. Not because I give a darn about any of this crap. I'm just doing this because I want to get the A. This is meaningless work. And now I'm going to go back to Xbox to play. But if you give me something that's relevant, then I'm going to sit and chew on it. I'm going to spin the wheels. And there are multiple incredible ways I can display to you my mastery.
So a couple of things. One, John mentions protocols. Definitely protocols. Like having those same things you reach back to, and the students can plug in new content to expand their learning. It gives them, checking boxes. That's so true. It gives them a framework for their own learning and discovery, so that it scaffolds their independence. We talked about drive a couple days ago, and how one of the things that drives people, I think it was on this anyway. One of the things that drives people is autonomy. They want the ability to do things on their own. And I think about, my roommate just recently super got into Formula One racing. And first of all, I know way more about Formula One racing than I ever thought I would in my entire life, because he's my friend. We live together. He's like one of the only people that I talk to in person. So I am willing to listen to anything that he is interested in. And he has dove deep into the topic of Formula One racing because it's really interesting to him. And I think students have those same topics. It's just you have to figure out what are those topics that spark them to spend hours and hours watching videos and reading about the history of it, and how do the cars work, and what are the rules about racing, and who are the main characters, and what's the backstory. And there's so much going on there, but it's because he's interested in it. So kids have those same things. You just have to find them.
Or make it broad enough that anybody can plug into the topic. So, I mean,
sure,
you don't have to speak to any one particular person. You just have to say, for example, now every kid in the world is going to want to make their little logo or whatever and build stuff, right?
We talked about that episode 1.
So the very first thing, everybody's going to have a logo. Everybody has animals they like, colors they like. It doesn't matter who you are. That's going to be something that's accessible to every kid, girl, boy, whatever. Kid from America, kid from Mexico, kid from Scandinavia. That's kind of a universal. It's kind of like dinosaurs. Generally, everybody likes dinosaurs. That's generally a topic that people can get into. Everyone has their favorite, the raptor versus the Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever.
Second grade, man. Second grade dinosaurs, forever and ever.
But if we're talking just straight canvas, right? I don't have to have. This is where the stand-up thing that checking in on a daily basis. I don't have to have new content for you. I can just build the module all the way up, and we have this standing meeting in which at the beginning of the day we go and convert how much that module you get through. I got through this, whatever, So yeah, Flipgrid integrates with Canvas as well, right? And so we'll show you that kind of where that plugin pops in. But
also, you don't have to worry about pacing anymore. No. You just build out your stuff and let them go through it. And if you have a kid who's just really struggling, then you can, you'll hear that in stand up, tap into them, maybe set up a one-on-one time. But it's up to the student. It's differentiating itself. They go at their own pace. You provide them their options. You're just building the thing and you let them run with it. It's one less headache for you to try to keep everybody together.
Absolutely. And that's why we talked about patterns in modules. And sticking to the same pattern over and over again in the modules. Don't reinvent the wheel. If I hit the plus sign over here, I got multiple.
People are tired of hearing "don't reinvent the wheel," by the way.
Okay, it is what it is, fam. So I got assignments, I got files, I got pages, I got whatever. I'm going to go to discussion first. All right, so I'm going to click the little discussion button, which is totally cool. There it is. And it's going to say, yo, new topic. Great. I'm going to say module 1 stand up. So I'm just going to call that that. Okay, are there 5 million ways to do this? Of course. But if I just want to keep this inside of Canvas, I'm going to say this is the tool that Canvas gives me. I'm not going to look for any outside tool. Here it is. I'm going to add the item inside there.
It can be a running thing. Like, you just leave it. Module 1, I check in for module 1. If I'm working on module 2, I check in for module 2. And it's just this discussion that you as a teacher can go back, read. Yes, Webs, I've been thinking about that too. Let them pace themselves. I'm telling you.
Blue facts.
So, interestingly enough, my last year of teaching in the classroom, I started out the year doing this, but in like person and with paper badges. I would literally make copies of badges that they could attach to their little badge sheet. And it was one of the best starts to the year because every kid knew exactly what to do. They knew exactly where they needed to go. They had their own path. They knew that they were going to get a badge once they completed XYZ. I literally would just sit back and answer questions and drink my coffee, and that was it, because they were motivated to go, to progress through everything by themselves. So I just provided them the resources to be able to learn the stuff, and they took it from there.
So inside the discussion hustle, you have exactly the same toolbar as you have in a regular page, which makes it very, very accessible. Hit the post button. All my tools are the same. So if I wanted to go and plug in an Adobe Spark, something from my Canvas, from my favorite, a Google Meet, whatever, I can plug those things in with no problems. Or I can say, yo, to kick this off, there goes that flip grid. So if I just want to go and just throw the flip grid in there, great, fine, Danny, that works as well. No worries. There's the flip grid, whatever. I can also have a situation, I'm going to cancel that totally, in which I don't add anything else. No other tools. I'm just going to put Bob here. Hello, I'm Bob. Great. Reply. Now, if I reply to that, you see I have the same tools again. Your kids are going to have the same toolbar. It's not going to look any different from them. They can say, all right, cool. I'm going to record my stand-up directly in response to what Mr. Lang said. Oh, Mr. Lang, yesterday your class was boring as a mug. I didn't get nothing out of it. You suck as a teacher. Great.
Harsh.
So that goes right inside there. Post a reply. When that loads up, I get that. So I can have this running string, and you will see that I'm subscribed to this. So anytime this changes, it's going to let me know, yo, somebody just posted some stuff up there, Mr. Lang. Great, fine, dandy. Your kids will also be subscribed to the discussion because they're part of the class. So anytime something changes on this discussion, they're going to be alerted to the fact that something just changed here. So if you didn't want to use any tools except for Canvas, you could run this thing the same way. I don't have to have anything else. I just want to roll with Canvas and do what I need to do. If I wanted to have a situation where the first post was, again, a Google Meet, great. Click. You got Google Meet built into the program. You just got to go authorize the thing, authenticate it every time for some strange reason. Great, fine, dandy. There we go. It pops in there. So I wanted just everybody on a video at the beginning of the day, whatever. Great. We're going to have that thing. Everybody needs to pop on really quickly because I want to do that synchronous thing. And then if we have beef, problems, questions afterward, reply to that string with the beef, problem, question, or whatever. But I'll sit on that Google Meet for 25 minutes until everyone's finished. And then as things go past, say again, I catch leprosy at 12 o'clock and I can't finish my work. Yo, Mr. Lang, my fingers just fell off. Literally, I got to go to the hospital because I got leprosy. And that's the reason why I'm not done with what I need to be done with. So that would be the first, I don't have to do anything outside of Canvas Hustle. The discussions are kind of important. You can also pin the discussions. You can close them. It's a lot of stuff inside there that you can deal with. You can build all your discussions by topic, playing around with inside just the discussion thread and building multiple discussions as they go. But I love to just take my modules, Build the modules out. So if you have an idea for what your course is going to look like, at least for the next month, build it out. Stick all your information in there, and if you got a month worth of material, ain't no kid about to finish that in a week. I'm just managing then. I don't care if you're teaching every subject, one subject, two subjects, or whatever. If you got your stuff plugged out where you will deal with parts and again, think about movies. I will deal in laws of actions in an action movie if I know that Michael Bay blowing up everything scene is going to happen. So even if you got to be boring in between stuff, I'll stay with you. But if I go the whole movie and it's just the Notebook, nah, fam, I ain't down with the Notebook. I mean, my bad to Notebook fans out there, but that ain't the most exciting movie. That makes me feel all weird and stuff. But I've only been forced to watch that movie twice, and I forgot to
It's a deeply emotional movie.
Yeah, I gotta watch.
For some people, Michael Bay movies are the snoozers.
Okay, I mean those people. I'm sorry for you. All right, like me, it's John Wick. Once I see the first John Wick flick, I watch that maybe twice a week, just because it's that emotionally empowering for your boy, Baba Yaga.
That's fair.
So,
the modules. I'm thinking. So something I was just thinking was the idea of sprints too. Like if you plan out your modules in 2-week chunks, like this module should take about 2 weeks. This module should take about 2 weeks. 2 modules covers a month. You're good.
Also, real human beings use calendars, and real human beings have things that are scheduled on calendars, etc. Right? So even if you're not planning to use Google Classroom for your hustle, setting up a Google Classroom and enrolling your kids in the Google Classroom has some benefits. So if you're not going to use it to actually do any instruction, you're going to do all your stuff on Canvas. This is the reason why you want to have a Google Classroom and simply have your kids enrolled in it, but not do anything in it if that's a hustle that you're going to deal with. So the Danger Room, shout out to all my X-Men fans. Been an X-Men fan my entire life. But anyway, the Danger Room was dope. So I've got this made up classroom that's here. Fine, dandy, whatever. As a part of every last one of them, you get a Google Calendar as a part of it, right? So I'm going to go and exploit the Google Calendar functionality because if I think about it, the Google Calendar is going to help me be more efficient than the Canvas calendar. And I say this for this reason. All right, so here's my Google Calendar. It's going to show me my deal. All right, I have this open. So I'll go down here. This is the Danger Room, right? I'm going to go ahead and just click that, and I'm going to go Settings and Sharing. So I'm going to do that. Great, fine, dandy. Now, I'm going to make sure all my kids are in this classroom. They accept the invitations, but with the idea that we're not going to use Google Classroom at all, I'm going to keep the Canvas going through. I'm going to find that embed code deal there, and I'm going to copy that. And again, embed code's the way to heaven.
So you went to the calendar layer, the 3 dots, and then scroll down to the embed code.
Yep.
Or settings, and then scroll down to the embed code.
So settings, make sure you find the calendar embed code. And again, you want your kids to be in the classroom, because if they're not in the classroom, they're not going to be able to see the calendar because they're not actually in the classroom unless you make it public, which I don't make it public. I just want the people that are in the classroom to see the calendar. Now, you can make it public and everybody can see the calendar if that's how you want to get down, but that's not how I do what I do.
That's from a security perspective, that's not a great idea, especially if you're going to add Google Meet links to it.
So, again, my initial...
It may be prohibited if you're using your school district instance. They may not even let you make it public, but for security reasons, making it public isn't a great idea.
And put the kids in the classroom, tell them, hey, just accept the invite, but we're not doing squat in Google Classroom.
Right.
So, then we got the funkiness where we want the good old embed code, right? So, I'm going to just put the embed code inside there. Great. And let that smooth. Oh, there's my Danger Room Classroom. Now, why do I want it in Google Classroom? Because Google Meet is a Google product, meaning I can schedule all the stand-ups for the entire month, the entire year, or whatever at the same time without having to deal with this little funky plugin that makes me authenticate every time I go in here. I hate this. It's not efficient. It's horrible. I don't like it at all. Now, there might be people that are like, hey, this is really convenient. Well, wonderful. I want my stuff planned out well in advance so the kids know every time the meets are going to happen, it highlights the day that we're on, so everybody's going to know we're on the 16th. Great. Here's the link that goes directly to the 16th for our stand-up, rather than have a scenario in which I've got to, if I forget to throw that the app and put that Google Meet link in there. Perhaps there's a kid's not paying attention to that. This kid dismisses it, etc. Everything's in the calendar. And grown-ups use calendars. We're talking about college career readiness, and calendar is not something that, oh my goodness, it is too embarrassing or it's too high above kids' ability levels. I think knowing that a day like Monday is the 24th, the 17th is an important thing. Webs.
Yeah, I think to further your point, like that literacy of time and recognizing, like you said, the relationship between what is today, the day of the week, the date in relation to the day of the week, getting them familiar with that is, I think, really, really important, and something that distance learning offers that, I mean, the classroom does kind of offer that because, you know, you could do calendar time or whatever and move the date, but this is automated now. Like that day is going to highlight and move for you automatically. If you set up your event to be a recurring event, then it's going to be there for you every single day. And I think that automation is a powerful thing from a teacher's perspective, because like you said, going back to the buttons thing, if you have buttons set up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and each one is linked to your Google Meet link or whatever, if that ever changes and you forget to change it, if if you forget to update the days of the week with your new link, if you change it every week or every day or whatever, it's just an awful lot more work than setting up an event and making it recurring.
Just pop it inside. Now all you need to do is go to your calendar and create the event. The event pops up automatically. It's going to recur. Stand up happens 8 o'clock every day. Boing, 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 and we're good. Go ahead, Webs.
Also, going back to college and career readiness, this is literally something that we heavily rely on when not in education, is setting things up on your calendar. Like when someone wants to schedule a meeting with me, I say, look at my calendar. They can see when I'm available and when I'm not, because I keep it up to date. There are people that have come to companies that I've worked for post-education who do not know how to use their calendar. They don't know how to schedule events. They don't know how to schedule events with multiple people. So if ever there were a college or a career readiness skill, this would so totally be it.
So I'm coming in. I'm going to make sure this is on the right layer. It's a danger room layer. Great. I'm going to change that. Find my danger room calendar, which I have 5 million calendars, but it is what it is.
Every time you make a new Google class, you get a new calendar layer for it.
So great. The 17th at 10. Say we're going to do every time we do stand up, it's going to be 8 o'clock. It's going to repeat. Yep, it's going to repeat every weekday from Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock. 8 to 8:30. It's going to repeat and do what we need to do. Great. Add the conferencing. Wonderful. If I need to copy it, I can copy this here. But I'm at the save button. Great. Now when I go back to my homepage, I'm going to save this really quickly. And you see my stand-up is already inside my deal. Already with the link, the kid don't have to go and figure out where to think. Click the link, we go where we need to go. God bless America. It keeps everything really, 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 really efficient for you as a teacher. I don't have to build buttons. I don't have to say on Monday we're doing. This also works for if you go back inside. So again, I'm going to double click. I'm going to change this back to the danger room. So one of the things that people were like, oh my God, I don't know. Again, the buttons thing, I'm going to move here, there. We can add attachments to anything we have inside here, right? So I got Drive, I got whatever. Say I'm going to throw, I don't know. That's what we're going to be discussing at a meeting. Great. My Google slideshow is there. A link to Flipgrid is there. My link to whatever else is there. Whatever. What we're going to call this. It's going to be, Math Hustle. Great. That's the Math Hustle. That's going to be right at, we'll say 8:45. Right after we finish stand up, we're going to do math from 8:45 to 9:45. Great. That's going to be every day from, actually, let's just do that on, let's say, weekly on Friday, just for whatever purposes. Great.
To show something different.
Yeah. Can you add a Google Meet on there? You can put a Google Meet if you want to or whatever. Great, fine, dandy. There are other things you can do it. You can send this to other Google Classroom as well, which people don't generally like exploit. But if you're using Google Classroom as your hustle, Canvas in Google Classroom, you can go and throw this as many Google Classrooms as you would like. I'll hit the save button. Great. I'll go back to my deal. I'm going to refresh this. And she didn't show up because I'm special. Did I put it on the right link?
Actually, yeah, I think that's a good thing. Math group 1 at 9 a.m.
Let me go and edit this bad boy because I put it.
No, it's on the on the wrong calendar layer. Something else to think about. What was I just thinking about? I was thinking about meetings. Oh, you can also just add events that are you could add an event called like your daily agenda, or here's what you should be working on today, or they can just be notes. So if you could use your calendar as a way to communicate with your students. So if they all they know is they need to go to the orange or orangey yellow goldenrod day and look at what's there. That makes it really easy for them to be like, okay, what am I supposed to do today?
And again, the calendar, like a simple tool, but one that can simplify your life so much. And I am not the most organized person. It's just like I thought the easiest way I needed to do what I need to do, the calendar was the way to do it. And it goes, as long as you have those kids enrolled in your classroom, they will be able to see this calendar and access it with no problems whatsoever. So go ahead, Webs.
Oh, I'd say too, I don't know if this was a thing during emergency learning, but especially for the older kids, I'd say starting around maybe 4th, 5th grade and up, getting them to use their own calendars for things and doing things like scheduling one-on-ones with them using their calendar so that they see it show up, they see the reminder. I think that's also another important college and career readiness standard from a digital perspective, is getting them to use that calendar to set reminders for things, like get them to understand how powerful their calendar can be for preparing them for, college and their career.
Facts. The other thing inside of Meet that's like not being talked about right now that is really going to be interesting for stand-ups or like announcements amongst lots of people. So you can get 250 people in a Google Meet, which is probably a bad idea, but yeah, you can use it in the classroom. Yeah, all you need to do is copy that and throw it right inside there. So Heidi's question, let me throw that. I'm going to actually throw this up really quickly because I think that's a good question. Heidi's question, if you're worried about them popping into Google Meet, wonderful. You can use the Google Meet the link beforehand. You could also, again, have a scenario in which, again, trust. Like, I mean, part of it is we can't, like, I don't think that any relationship that's worth anything is built on distrust. Like, inherently, me and the homie Webbs, I trust her implicitly. Like, if she says she's going to do something or how she's going to do it, whatever, like, I'm not going to stand over her and say, hey, Webbs is going to do X, Y, and Z. If we look at your class as a team and we say, okay, look, fam, this is what we're going to do. This is the protocol. No one jumps in the meet before. No one's going to exploit the meet or whatever. I think having that as a high expectation for your students, that's going to keep a lot of curtail things a lot for the, exploiting the fact that link is live. So I'm just, me with that hustle, I'm just, I do understand that there is a concern, but I think most humans are good natured and kind. We might be, we might get into a little bit of, we may have some fun, but I think most of your students are not going to be, oh my God, I'm going to exploit the Google Meet because I want to go and hang out with people and like cyberbully people and stuff like that. Not to say it's not going to happen, but I
think it's a lot slimmer than we want to believe it. It's a lot slimmer of a chance than we're preparing to deal with.
Yeah.
I feel like we're acting as though every student is going to be, running some kind of illegal criminal operation from open Google Meet meetings or something. We had a question from another viewer. For iOS, is the browser or the app better these days?
For Canvas?
Yeah, for Canvas.
You definitely want to use the browser, fam. Like, so you can't build. Let's say this: the iPad Pro offers you some abilities on the iOS app that the standard iPad is not going to offer you because of the size. But generally, in terms of having access to all of the tools, you want to use the browser. and use a computer. Which shout out to all the teachers that are going to be trying to walk their teachers to their parents through creating their parent codes. You can't do that on iOS. So make sure you tell your parents that they have to sit at a computer to create those, to pair themselves with their student. You can't do that on your phone, which sounds like completely insane that you can't do that on your phone, but it is a thing. That's what the hustle said. We kind of walked through it. I created a video for my parents today. It might be something you want to walk them through all the way yourself. So that's just a small aside.
I think that's a gap too that we're missing right now. That folks want to think about teaming up with their grade level, their school, other teachers about is, you know, the parent walkthrough of all of these tools and how to do things. I know to do that pairing, there was like an infographic with directions. I don't know if there's a video out there somewhere. I know if it were me, a video, I would find a video a lot more helpful than following like written out directions, especially when step 4 of a 5-step process has 10 steps embedded into it. Like, that's kind of funky.
But again, that's why everyone should have to teach kindergarten. Like, you would never do that if you taught kindergarten, because you'd be like, all right, those kids would be gone, bro. And you're making assumptions about people's technical. So digital literacy is also a thing, right? We refer to things like browsers, like the fact that you know what a browser is. I'm making some assumptions. iOS, I'm making an assumption that you know what that actually means, and I don't have to spell out that is the operating system for an Apple mobile device. So
operating system.
Yes, operating system.
There is vocabulary. So particularly if you have been in the ed tech world for a while, or if you're that relative that at the holidays, everybody comes to you to try to troubleshoot why their Wi-Fi isn't working, or try to get their tablet working, or why is my computer so slow? So if you're that person, you have this vocabulary, and you are probably curse of knowledge. Like you've forgotten more than some people have yet to learn. So something to be thoughtful of and considerate of is that there may not be shared vocabulary there. I remember like when I was super early on first learning Spanish, we struggled. This is when I was in high school and like the internet was just becoming a thing. We struggled with like what the word for internet was going to be. Like, is it internet? Is it web? Is it the Spanish word for web? Like
la red, or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
red, which is the web. And so, so it like that's something to keep in mind as well. Is you may be taking for granted your background knowledge as someone who has some tech forwardness. If you're a teacher who doesn't have that vocabulary, that's totally fine. You'll gain it whether you want to or not. But for folks who already have it, be mindful of that when you're using those words, when you're trying to communicate, that the folks on the other end that you're trying to communicate to may not have that shared vocabulary.
So kind of with that, so kind of like to pivot back to where I was before, the kind of the hidden secret inside of Google Meet. First of all, you probably don't want meetings with 250 people. You probably don't want meetings with 35, 45, 55 people, because you got who's muting who's doing this, somebody said something out loud or whatever. So I can kind of streamline that deal. I'm just going to create this random meeting really quickly. Bob James, The Nautilus. If you have not listened to that album, or do you need to go pick up some Bob James? So I'm going to do that. Anyway. So I'm going to go throw this thing inside here, right? And when I pop up, that's where I'm going to go immediately.
Dots, man. The 3 dots hold treasures galore.
All right. Of course, you turn on your captions and whatnot so everybody can see what you're saying, but also your settings. And Webbs and I kind of talked a little bit about this earlier in terms of like facts.
What?
So Casey just threw into the from YouTube that like keeping it simple, like that is we are trying to go and ramp people up. We're trying to get people to do 5 million things, but patterns are important. There's a reason why every sentient species on the planet looks at patterns and behaves in a predictable way. And I think as long as we go and we deal with that, where I'm going to come to class, I know exactly what's going to happen. First we do this, then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. And not this like, hey, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Now I'm supposed to use this tool and that tool and this tool and this tool. Like the first 2 weeks should all be procedures. Like literally, don't do any kind. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we click the link. This is our behavior when we're doing this. This is how you're gonna work with your team, etc., and get those things down so that they're like clockwork by the end of the second week. And then you can go and you will do amazing things for the rest of the school year. But if you're gonna go and start, I have heard some teachers we're doing content day two. You about to have a long year, fam.
And that's not new. That's one of those things that actually does hold up no matter whether you're teaching distance learning or in person. Procedures, procedures, procedures. Like Harry Wong still holds up even after all these years.
So the video resolution is one of the hustles, right? So you will notice that I've gotten. I'm going to talk about this tool in just a second, but mine is at high definition 720. That's as high as it will go. But your kids will start off, you'll start off if you don't change it at 360p. So it's going to be real grainy, weird looking video, which is one of the reasons I would say just have the kids turn the video off in the first place. Like it's not going to be like pleasant to look at the video unless there's some reason why you need to see people's faces and stuff. Which again, I think is overrated. Again, if it was at school, that's one thing. You in my house now, I got the right not to have a video. I'm on. You can see that I'm on. Send me your information, do what I need to do. But again, I think some of being sensitive to bandwidth issues, being sensitive to lifestyle issues, sensitive to the personal preferences. That's another thing. I'm naturally a very introspective and very introverted person. I don't generally feel comfortable. Like if this was a meeting and we had like 17 different people on here, I may be not as open as I am right now, just because Webbs and I have been friends for years. I trust her implicitly, etc. So it gets to a point where people just have different preferences and respect Carter, man, on that. So that deal's there. The other thing is here is that Prezi virtual camera that I have here, right? And I'm actually change this to my FaceTime camera. And I've got multiple cameras, multiple virtual cameras on my computer. And if you have a machine that can handle those things, virtual cameras will really help you with one of the biggest pains of Google Meet, which is you can't see the people while you're presenting, right? So that being the case, I'm going to kind of go into another shell here. And one of the things I would I hate Prezi. So I don't like the presentations. I think the presentations kind of suck. They're really weird. But the video portion in here is well worth the price of admission. It's $39 for the year as a teacher. It's really, really dope. And it gives you a virtual camera that you can plug in that will keep all of your presentations in one spot. So you don't have to go and constantly go between pages and stuff. I can tell the kids, give kids my message and not have to worry about anything. So if I go to create new video here, it's going to search for my camera and microphone, and you'll see automatically I get these really, really nice templates that are here. And I can build my presentation directly into my virtual camera. It's going to, just like this inside the screen, I can go and it'll let me go right on through. So it's definitely well worth it if you want to look like kind of a boss, right? Want your your kids to think that you're amazing. Mr. Lang has all this stuff going. All I did was use this tool. I'm using the virtual camera that's built inside here. I'm not doing squat else. I can build my entire presentation in. It looks like kind of a news broadcast. Really, really slick. So if I were you, that would be something that I would deal with to kind of jazz up. And I'm going to actually bring up my Google, my Prezi video here on my screen. It'll jazz up your hustle. So if I create a new video, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just use one that I have already. Let me close anyway. I'm going to use this one by Swell Creation because it's already there. I'm going to go to video conference. Great. So if I jump inside my Google Meet here, all right, and I come in and I say, you know what? And right now it's correct to my eCam. I'm going to change it. I'm going to go to my settings. I'm going to go to video, and I'm going to change that to the Prezi virtual camera, and done. You'll see that it looks like this because I have it twice, so you can see it on my actual camera here. The only reason why it's not working is because I don't have anything there. So I'm gonna go whatever, great, fine, dandy. It's not working because it's also on eCam, but that thing works like right now it's saying multiple ones are there. I'm gonna go and disconnect from eCam and just use that one. Wonderful. I know, give me Google Meet. Done. All right, cool.
The behind the scenes right now of all of the things that you're managing has got to be ridiculous.
Oh, it's like really, really, whatever. So if I wasn't also projecting other things, it would work fine. One of the things that really, really kind of helped me out when I was doing the previous, like when we did the emergency thing, was making sure that I had the. I'm gonna get rid of this now. That I had the attention of all the learners. I could see everyone's faces, everyone's the chat box and stuff like that, because my presentation was built in the present video instead of having to go from between. There are extensions that do stuff, and me with extensions, I kind of get paranoid with a lot of extensions if I don't know what data that they're mining or anything like that. I'm waiting for hopefully Google Meet to kind of update itself to a point where like it's a normal Zoom competitor in the real sense, and I don't have to use extensions to do anything. And web in terms of security, like talk a little bit about extensions and add-ons to the Google products.
Yeah, I mean, the add-ons can be great, extensions can be great, and this would be true also for Chrome, for Firefox, but you always want to make sure that you're looking at what do they want access to, because sometimes so there's a couple different buckets. Like sometimes it's a matter of it's a newish developer, they're not quite sure how to get what they want to get without being we have this concept in security of least principle of least privilege. So you want a thing to only have the minimum amount of privilege that it really needs to have. So, and by privilege I mean access to your stuff. So you only access the things that you need to access and nothing more. Sometimes it could be due to the way a certain workflow works or whatever. It might seem as though it's asking for more permissions than it needs, and that's due to the technology. The last bucket is things that are actually malicious. So, or maybe not actually malicious, but potentially could cause problems. So let's say you authorize an extension that wants access to your email. And sometimes if you read those, it will say like permission to send and receive email, permission to read through your email. If it doesn't seem like there's any reason why that would need access to that, so like if I'm maybe working with an extension or an add-on or a product that is meant to manage my email, like what was the one that you used for what, Astro Butler or something? Astrobot. Yep. So like Astrobot was, the whole purpose of that tool was to better manage your email. But if I'm looking at, say, an extension that is supposed to, I don't know, help me out. Give me an example, Mike. What's another extension?
It's add on to my Google Slides to make put pictures on my Google Slides.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good example. So if the add-on is supposed to just allow you to say search a specific database of pictures, like Unsplash, yeah. Then and it's asking for permission to access your email, that's probably a red flag that that's not information that it should need to access, and it's either doing it because of some, the developer hasn't put in the effort to make sure it's only accessing the things it needs, or because of some weird workaround, or because it actually is malicious or could cause additional issues. So just something to think about is really read through the things it says, because it's very tempting, like terms and conditions, to just click okay, apply, yes, access. You really don't want to do that, especially with Google, because of how interconnected everything is. Your email in particular you should protect, because that's where password resets go. That's where initial links to get access to certain accounts go. A lot of people use their email for very private information, your unemployment, or your things related to your job, things that might have your social security number on them, appointments to doctors. So there's a lot of personal things that go in our email now. You want to be very protective of that. Also turn on two-factor authentication, but that's for another time.
Indeed. The last kind of like stand-up-ish type thing that you have built into Canvas is that chat function. So your kids will also have a chat. You will see all the kids that are logged in to your course at one time. So if you needed to chat with them, you could go, and I don't know who that's just me being myself because I'm in there. You would see all your students inside there. So if you needed to talk to one person in particular, you can click it and chat, send emojis, all that. So that's another thing to show your students that you have the ability to, even if you're doing something else, one of the things I would get kind of familiar with is just leaving your Canvas open if that's what you're going to be utilizing for your instruction. So that those chat, you would hit a little ding, it gives you a little ding like somebody's chatted with you. Great, and you can just deal with it. Look, if you build the modules correctly, you can utilize yourself more as a help desk and less as an instructor. Everything's there. You're going to go and just moderate what's going on in your course. And that's Doesn't matter if you're talking about science, math, etc. All those things are there. You can call meetings. I'm seeing that people are having struggles here. Let's call a Google Meet really quickly. I'm gonna do the little, on the fly, prescriptive, mini lesson rather than have a scenario in which how many minutes do I have to do a day? I'm going to do the 90 minutes because that's what we're supposed to do. Well, the kid don't need the 90 minutes if you wolfing at him. Why am I bothering you, yo? It just becomes a scenario in which the best bosses that I have ever had have been bosses that have trusted me. And when I had a problem, I trusted them to go to and say, hey, I don't understand what you want me to do right here, fam. And if we're talking about college and career readiness, we need to model college and career readiness in terms of, hey, you are valuable. I trust you as worker. Here's the task that I have set in front of you. If you can't do the task, come to me and we're going to figure out what we can deal with. But if it continues to be this inherent distrust, and again, I swear by a certain theory, and Webbs has heard this before, the theory of fecal gravity, right? That theory is very wrong in like uncivilized society, right? We have this scenario where it all rolls down, and who's going to get it? The person underneath me. Because I'm feeling it, I'm going to make sure you feel it, rather than a situation where I trust you implicitly, and I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you anymore. And then we'll have a conversation about, hey, you messed I can't trust you implicitly. Let's create a pathway where I can trust you again. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch you for a couple days. Here's what you need to do, Bob. Here's the pathway we're going to do. And you get back in our good graces and we can do what we need to do. Because I can only be as successful as my employees are and my users are. And if my employees and my users aren't happy with how things are going to run, if there are any, I hate it. We all know teachers like this. I hated teachers like this when I was in school. Oh, 70% of my class failed. I must be a great teacher because look how hard my class is.
I was just talking about this on Friday. Like the sink or swim idea, it just, why? Why would anybody want to just send someone out to sink or swim? Why would you not want to scaffold that learning and figure out what's gone wrong so that you can give them a life preserver, so that you can strengthen their ability to swim? Like, why would you not want that? Like, I want every kid in my class to pass with flying colors.
If you were selling cars and every car broke down on the road, you're going to be out of business. It's not something to celebrate. You're going to be unemployed. And I think, we have to have that same understanding, unfortunately. We start talking about in real life how we're going to have a scenario where kids are free and utilizing that freedom to still get them to do work with us in our classrooms, rather than have a situation where, again, we're going to control you at every case. We're going to say that it takes 90 minutes for everyone to do this when that's not the case. It may take me 15 minutes to do what you asked me to do, Bob. Why do I have to sit and listen to you for 90 minutes? So the modules, again, something that I would start to organize. If you are forced to use Canvas as the sole means for instruction, build them into modules. Make sure the modules are patterned the same way. And that stand up, that humanness, that community, that we working together thing. When Webb starts, and that's kind of the benefit of how we roll. When Webb starts saying stuff about like software development stuff, I'm like, all right, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to play that with that in the class. And then the kids are like, hey, this is my retrospective today, Mr. Lang. When they start using that vocabulary, you're like, all right, this is rather dope that this kid is using this vocabulary that's going to make this person feel like they're a professional. And when you have a 7 or 8 year old using professional terms, that they're going to be able to walk into their first job and say, I already know what a retrospective is, fam. I know what a stand-up is, fam. I understand how these processes work. That, to me, is the goal of education. That you can get a job and you can go and be a productive citizen, and you can make sure that my retirement is going to be funded because I'm going to need it. All right. So the stand-up hustle, have questions, comments, concerns, or anything, shoot emails, holla at us. Like Webb said, we're on the web, on the internets. We've been on the internets for a minute. Hit us up. We're going to try to we might not pop-ups like this because it was kind of like a spur-of-the-moment joint. We're going to do like another mini-series like the first week of school, probably, definitely, because I got a feeling it's going to be a very exciting time to be alive, Webbs. A very exciting time to be alive.
Indeed.
Perhaps not in the best ways, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, this is fun. Even with my reality TV show drama.
Well, that's what makes it even more fun. Like, it's like this is not pre-recorded. This is like in the moment. This is how we do.
I will say, I bet that your standard professional learning you got from your school district did not have a dog getting stuck in a shirt and then running away with a tissue.
Probably didn't. No, it's probably not it.
So that's entertainment you can only get here.
Indeed, indeed. All right, so if nothing else, we'll probably be back in a week. Who knows? We may pop up tomorrow. Who knows? I don't know, but we might do that. So I'm about to do the thing. That means the time is up. We're like, we went an hour and 5 minutes. It is what it
We
is.
always go 5 or 10 minutes over.
Indeed, indeed. So that's a good thing about live TV. That's not, or actually on a television station, you can gotta go over. There's nothing behind it. Lovecraft Country. If you have not checked that out, what Eastern time it'll come out. They planned the first episode like back to back to back. HBO 9 o'clock. HP Lovecraft class. No worries, Kim. No worries. HP Lovecraft. Kind of like an interesting take on that. The book is amazing. I keep the book by my next to my deal here. It's a great book. Matt Ruff, Lovecraft Country. Read it.
This is not sponsored by HBO.
HBO. We would like to be sponsored by HBO. So if I get the HBO Connect, the HBO money, I'm down with the HBO money. Indeed.
I'd be down with the HBO money. Hashtag sexy jigsaw.
Indeed. Sexy jigsaw for life. All right. See you when we see you. Holleration.
Bye, everybody.